The sooner you start, the better. This is something that you already know, obviously. You felt that every single time that you've had a task to do, you've put something off, or simply you've told yourself you'll start next week, something like that. There's that tiny part in you whispering, you're lying to yourself. And the truth is that you likely are. Because if you're sitting here watching this video, I can't help but assume that you are doing some sort of procrastination, you're avoiding some sort of topic, some sort of task that you should have been doing. Just know that the sooner you start, the better. Nowadays, there's this very broad stream or wide stream illusion where time is some sort of thing that stretches infinitely, endlessly beyond us. We always think that we have more time, it's all available to us, it's completely abundant. We assume that we're going to have more chances in the future. More Mondays to finally start fixing our lives, more start of the weeks to say, alright, I'm going to start this week, not today. But eventually you'll get to the point where you realize that what you think is an opportunity is actually a delay. And that delay costs far more than you'd think. Because that delay, you'll never get it back. That time that you've wasted, it's gone forever. You will never get that time back. Which is kind of scary to think about. And I think that should put the majority of people in a position where they're ready to change. Which is why I'm going to say it once again. The sooner you start, the better. I'm going to just straight up tell you that momentum is everything. Momentum is the key to tumbling towards a success. Because momentum is something, it's kind of strange. Momentum doesn't come from thinking or watching videos or reading books. It comes from actually doing the actions. It comes from genuinely acting upon those thoughts, acting upon the theories and the ideologies in these books that you've read or the videos that you've watched. It comes from a messy, it comes from an awkward, uncomfortable first step. Doing the first step that is never shown to anyone, that no one ever sees you doing. Like I said, the uncomfortable first step, actually beginning. But that first step, well, obviously that's where everything begins. That's where your story starts to change and momentum starts to build up more and more. People don't necessarily fail because they're incapable of doing the action or the task that they've been provided. No, they fail because they keep waiting and waiting and waiting. They wait for the motivation to hit. They wait for some sort of clarity. They wait for some, divine intervention to come tell them that now is the right time. But the perfect time will never come. There is no such thing as the perfect time. And if you continuously wait and wait and wait for that perfect time, it's just going to get further and further away from you, because that perfect time was now, or now, or now, or now, or now. Because the second that you start is the best time that you could have started. Obviously, you can look in the past and say, wow, I could have started yesterday. But there's no point dwelling on the past when you can start right now. The waiting is the reason that people get stuck. The waiting is what perpetuates this notion, that forces them into a scenario where they keep on waiting. It's like it's a feedback loop. The more they wait, the more stressed they become. Then they say, okay, I need to wait for the perfect time, and then they've been waiting more and more. I'm kind of yapping again, but you have to understand this concept. So to understand this concept, I want you to ask yourself, what have you been delaying? Come up with something genuinely, come up with something that you've been delaying in the past, in the present, right now, that you've been saying you're going to do when you're ready. It could be starting to go to the gym, could be doing that homework task, could be starting a project or ending a friendship with someone because they're toxic. If I've asked you this, and if you've asked yourself this, there should be something nagging in your mind right now. And that thing in your mind should be eating away at you. It should already be at the back of your mind, and you should already know exactly what you want to get rid of, or what you exactly want to start. So I want you again to ask yourself, how much is this thing costing you? Because the serious truth is that most people don't know how much this thing is costing them. And it's scary, honestly, because not going to the gym might take away a few years with your future grandchildren or future children, and you'll never know that. Because if you don't start today, then you're going to lack those days in the future. Or not ending that toxic relationship that I was talking about, that toxic friendship, relationship, whatever. That could be nagging away at the back of your mind, because that could be taking away your current time, your current value, because time is one of the biggest resources that you own. The cost of inaction, it doesn't scream at you. It doesn't like hit you in the face directly. No, it creeps slowly towards you. It starts to numb your ambitions, it starts to get rid of your motivation. It starts to harden your heart. It convinces you that maybe your goals were just too big for you. Maybe those goals were unrealistic. Maybe you're not cut out to achieve these things that you want to achieve. And eventually that lie that starts to come from inaction becomes a reality. And one of the largest reasons of that is due to procrastination. And the first thing I want people to realize is that procrastination isn't a habit, it's a betrayal to yourself. It's a betrayal of your future self, your present self, but specifically your future self. I'm kind of yapping on again. But you have to understand that procrastinating gets rid of your potential. You're betraying your future potential for some sort of pleasure right now. You're getting rid of everything you say you ever wanted. The dream life that you were aiming for is leaving you. Just because you wanted to watch a YouTube video right now or go eat some fucking McDonald's instead of doing your homework. And I know I'm being harsh right now. I'm being like a dickhead telling you all these things. But I would rather you feel like I'm a dickhead right now and take that punch than look back 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 5 years from now, however long from now, and wonder, why didn't I start any sooner? Why didn't I start that day? Because right now, you're going to look into the past and say, damn, I should have started that day. I should have invested that day, I should have done my homework last week. I don't want your future self to do that again and again and again until you literally give up. That's why I'm telling you right now. That's why I'm punching you in the gut right now. So that you finally wake up to the idea that you need to understand that you need to start now. The sooner you start, the better. I'll say it once again. I'll say it 1,000 times again until it gets drilled into your mind. Sorry. And the idea is that I'm not saying you have to have everything figured out for you. I'm just saying that you have to start. Obviously, you have to have a plan. You have to have a roadmap. You have to have some of these things. They're necessities, right? But you don't need to wait for that perfect moment. You don't need to wait for next Monday to start or, all right, next year, I'm going to start going to the gym. You don't need to wait for any of that. Even if you're relatively underprepared, even if everything feels messy and you feel anxious to, start. Especially if you're feeling scared to. Because fear it's kind of like a compass, The thing that you're scared of is actually the thing that you should be going towards. Now, obviously, take that into context. Don't be stupid, right? But in this context, if you're scared of progressing towards something, use that fear as a compass. That compass is pointing you towards that thing. If I'm scared of going to fighting for the first time ever, because I think I'm going to get jumped. No, sorry, not jumped. Because I think I'm going to, do bad in training. I should go to that training so I can get better and decrease my fear and increase my confidence, I'm trying to think. I need to ask you something. Let me ask you something, in fact. I'm going to allow you to ask yourself this after I've told you this prompt. When is the last time that you followed through on something you said that you would do for yourself? When is the last time that you grabbed yourself by the balls and that thing that you told yourself you were going to do? When's the last time you actually did it? When's the last time you completely followed through on that? Not for someone else, not for your boss, not for your teacher, not for your parents. Not for your friends, but genuinely for yourself, for you. When's the last time that you fully followed through? Most people spend more time managing their inbox or managing their fucking phone homepage than managing their own soul and managing their own brain. They respond to a majority of other people's requests and what's the word I'm looking for? Requests and demands. They respond to those demands more than they respond to the call inside them. More than they respond to the one screaming at them that there's more to you than this life that you're bound for. Oh shit. Oh, that could have been bad. I almost spilled water on my laptop. And there is more to you inside you. There is that call. There's that call to action. But the biggest problem is that you won't find that call to action by waiting around for the perfect moment for it to come to you. You need to go to it, because you're not going to find it by numbing your brain with these junk content in your feed or refreshing your feed for more dopamine hits. These fucking Instagram reels, these TikToks, whatever. You're going to find it by doing the work. If you do the work, you will go towards it. It's not going to find you. You need to find it. You don't need to feel like doing the work in order to put in some sort of effort for once in your life to actually end up doing it. Because you know that it matters. You are aware that this work is something important to you and that you have to do it. Otherwise, you're bound for failure. You're bound for a boring life. So, I'll go back to that old saying, which is, it goes like, when is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago? Or today? Nah, wait, fuck. Hold on, give me a sec. When was the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago? Then the second best is today. I've definitely butchered that, but basically all it's saying is that the past is the past, and you can't change that. Obviously, if I started fucking investing in houses or Bitcoin 10 years ago, I'd be fucking rich as shit right now. But I can't. I can't change that. So the second best time is today, to invest in myself now. The same applies to every single thing in your life. The book that you haven't read, the business that you haven't started, the homework that you haven't done. Basically, I'm just saying to do the action, because time isn't going to wait around for you, Time won't. It won't wait around, and neither will your regrets, neither will the doubt in your mind. None of that's going to wait. That is all going to continue happening while you are the only thing waiting around, while that book is still waiting to be read, while that business is still waiting to be started, while that homework is still waiting to be finished. And the problem with that, the wildest thing about that, is that every single person out there wants results. I don't know a single person who doesn't want to succeed, obviously. But the problem with everyone wanting results is that a majority of these people don't want to start. They don't want to be seen doing it. They want to be admired for the after photo, not for the before. They don't want to begin, but they want to reap the benefits of the fruits that they sow. Because they understand that starting is a vulnerable position to put yourself in. It's raw, it exposes you. Like myself with this YouTube channel, I'm dropping fucking less than 100 views, less than 50 views on some of these videos. I'm still uploading, and I don't mind. Because if one person likes the content, if one person finds it helpful, that's one person I've changed. So, the beginning isn't a weak point, right? It's courage, it's doing something that's estranged to everyone else. It's starting something new. It's admitting that you want more out of this life than other people are taking from theirs. That's bravery. That's some sort of power that you hold upon yourself. There's something that, most people won't do. A lot of people will just be content with the lives they live, even though they know that there's some sort of calling that they want to go towards, but they're too scared to take that first step. So don't stay on the sidelines with your fucking arms crossed, judging the other people who are trying it, because it is a lot easier to criticize than to begin. But I don't want you to be like that, because you're not like that. if you're watching this video, you aren't like that. You're here, you're listening to me. And if you're doing all these things, I know that deep down you are ready. You are ready to find that path. And it's not like I'm saying that finding that path will be easy, but it will be your path. And once you find that path, it is yours. It is yours to hold and yours to follow. And that is the most important thing that matters. Because if you want to start to talk about wasted potential, then talk about the guy who said he wanted to be fit and lean and shit, but he kept pushing it back and back and back as his next year's resolution, New Year's resolution. And now, 5 years later, he's 20 kilos heavier and he's ashamed to take his shirt off at the beach. He's ashamed to look at himself in the mirror. Or we can talk about wasted opportunity. The girl who wanted to, write a book, but she kept telling herself that she wasn't ready to write this book. She wasn't ready to launch this book to anyone else because she was too ashamed of it. And now she's seeing other people with half of her experience and half of her insight write a better book than her. Write a book that she could have done triple better than, but she never did. And then she wonders to herself, what if I had just done mine? What if I had just written it and tried again and failed until it succeeded? Because those what ifs in your mind are the most powerful but the most impactful things that you can think of. And those two anecdotes that I just gave you, there's definitely some sort of real application to those. That is what happens to someone when they start delaying the things that they want, the broad goals that they're aiming towards. The craziest part about that is that once they had started, the fear begins to disappear. It's... I'll use myself as an anecdote again. When I was first uploading my videos, I was far too scared to upload some sort of long form content because I didn't want to sit in front of a camera and talk for so long. So I did short. That's not the kind of audience I'm looking for. I'm looking for a long form, retentive audience, which is why I'm now comfortable to do this. Because now that I've started, that fear is starting to shrink more and more and more. Once you start to climb that mountain, the path gets easier and easier, the mountain starts to shrink. Because it's not a dream in your mind, it's a plan. It's not someday I'll start, it's today I'll start. It's today I will start. I have started already. And something else I'll say, and this I want you to listen closely to, because you might have zoned out by now because I keep fucking yapping, but listen to it, right? The longer you wait, the more you will find reasons not to start. The longer you wait, the more you delay the things you want to do, you will find more and more and more reasons to avoid starting, creating, again, that feedback loop that I was talking about. Your brain will start to do some sort of fucking mental gymnastics to justify that delay, to justify that wait. Oh, I'm too tired, I'm too busy, it's too late, I need to sleep. These aren't reasons. And it's been established that these aren't reasons. They're excuses which you dress up as in some sort of logical form, so your brain justifies yourself not doing these actions. If you want to be different, you have to start regardless of these excuses. You have to start regardless of whether you're tired, regardless of whether you're alone, regardless of whether you're too busy. Because those first 5 minutes of action that you begin to start with will do more for your life than 5 hours of consuming content. 5 hours of watching motivational fucking videos, reading 5 hours of motivational books. Those 5 hours are less impactful than the first 5 minutes that you act upon your dreams. Because movement breeds clarity. Movement creates momentum. And momentum creates motivation. It's not the other way around. Too many people wait on motivation. Doesn't come. And you don't need to worry about being perfect, Don't worry about being the best of the best. Worry about being consistent, precise, and relentless. Just keep going at it until you succeed. Because if you ever wonder why the people who succeed always seemed like they just knew what to do, they knew what they had to do to succeed this time, they didn't. They started before they were ready, and they figured it out along the way. They figured out that if I did this last time and that didn't work, let's bring it over here and I'll try this. That didn't work, take it over here and we'll try this. They kept trying and trying and trying, and I don't know how I can drill that into your brain any further. So what you need to do is to stop romanticizing the idea of starting everything perfectly right. Start now, start everything off ugly, and start everything off scared. But for the love of yourself and the love of your future self, just start. The person you don't want to be doesn't live in the future. They're not waiting for you to catch up. They exist in the decisions you make today. They exist in the tiny, the uncomfortable, and the courageous choices that say, I'm done waiting. Like I said at the start, the sooner you begin, the better. Because time is going to be moving no matter what you do. The only question is, will you move with it, or will you be left in the past?